I appreciate your question, or rather your statement, red pill pharmacist. Let's break it down. Can Christians fight? God hates violence. Competing MMA is violent. There's no way you can justify it. Let's break it down. So the verse you're referring to, right? The Bible says God hates those who love violence. I actually have it pulled up right here. It's Psalm 11, verse 5, right? The Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence. Now, at first glance, without studying this deeper, we might just assume, okay, there's never an instance where God permits violence, or violence is never okay, this, that, and the third. However, if we look in the Hebrew, right? If we look in the Hebrew, when it's describing violence, and I have it pulled up right here, the word violence in the Hebrew means Hamas, which means, like, literally means violence, wrong, unjust gain, right? And so the Bible here is not just talking about violence in totality, but it is talking about violence in a negative connotation of a wicked person. You can read the verse again, right? But his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence, right? So it's talking about an evil person physically being violent for unjust gain, for wrong, for evil. Now that is a different thing than a godly person, a godly man, a godly warrior fighting for a cause. So you see in the Old Testament, right? We have David, we have Samson. David's mighty men killed 800 people, right? And so God sometimes uses violence to accomplish what he wants to accomplish, to do what he wants to do. Now, I'm not saying that MMA fighting and David in the Old Testament is the exact same thing. I'm just using it to illustrate the point that God is open to violence sometimes. In my typed response to your comment, I believe I said that the same God who sent Jesus is also the same God who sent the flood to wipe out the wicked and kill everybody, right? So there are some times where God permits violence, or he permits killing, right? So to say that there's never a time where a Christian could or should partake in violence, I don't think is necessarily a true fact. And I don't think the verse that you use to illustrate it is talking about fighting is in under a negative connotation, right? So being an evil person, right? Versus, say, MMA, where two people are mutually agreeing to participate in a sport that they have been training for. And if you look at MMA fights, if you look at people at the end of MMA fights, there's often an attitude of respect and honor towards the person that you've just gone to battle with. I would also say that there's a difference between fighting and violence. And I can make another separate video on this, but violence, how to say, there is absolutely violence in fighting, but fighting and violence, like robbing somebody on the street, shooting somebody, it's not exactly a one-to-one picture, if that makes sense, right? So I hope that answers your question, right? So you cannot be a Christian and a fighter, right? Okay, that's the statement. And then your justification was Psalm 11, verse 5, right? Just broke that down, right? Wickedness, evil. There are times in the Bible where God had people fight, period. So from my perspective and the perspective that I'm preaching from, it's less never fight and what are you fighting for? Who's guiding you? You're fighting, and why are you fighting? If you look in Nehemiah, the prophet, he instructed people to have swords ready while they were building the temple of God, to be ready to fight. So there's absolutely a time for a Christian to fight, and it to not be immoral and to not be unjust. But if you are fighting from an immoral, unjust place to take advantage, to exploit, to harm or wrong somebody else, yeah, that's evil, obviously, right? Competing in MMA is violent, for sure. It does, for sure. There's absolutely a component of mixed martial arts that is violent, right? But once again, it's a time and a place thing. No way to justify this. Okay, and so I just gave you my justification, right? So that's my explanation. If you're watching the response to this video, tell me what you think in the comments below. Love to know what you guys think about this topic. Can a Christian do MMA? Can a Christian do martial arts? Can a Christian defend themselves, right? Turn the other cheek. I can break that down on another video as well. But yeah, that's thanks for this comment. No problem breaking it down. Peace.